Okay, so I hope that people can now hear me. Apparently, I was live speaking for a while before realizing that my audio wasn't working. So I hope that it works now. So, what I wanted to do with this video was really just welcome people to this group, to the Lightcasters, and let you know what this is all about and what we're going to do here. And it was really inspired by a friend of mine. We were having a chat, and it was very beautiful and it was very just inspirational for both of us. And she kept saying throughout our conversation, she said, "Ah, you speak light into people." And then I thought, what a gift, actually. What a gift it is to be able to support people in just lighting up. And what I would love to have is a community full of people who do that for their communities. Also, just a heads up, the dogs are here. They might be barking. I hope for the viewers, please, can you let me know if you can now hear me? If you're here with me live, just let me know in the chat if you can actually hear me, because apparently that did not work very well before. So what I would really love this Lightcasters for me, it's about casting light onto the world. And I think it's just so important now in a period of time where we just see, and I think also with the access to social media and with the access to news in general, we're just seeing so much darkness. And I think it's important that we do what we can to kind of provide a counter for that. So what I would really, really love this group to be about is how can we create more light in the world? How can we cast more light onto this beautiful space and our communities? And so what you can expect here being in this group is just figuring out how to do that more, do that better. For me, it's always about how do we work on ourselves first, right? How can we get rid of a lot of the negativity that we have been programmed with? How can we reprogram ourselves to just be energetically elevated, to be just sources of light for other people, which means just removing a lot of the judgment, a lot of the shame, a lot of the guilt, a lot of the just things that are pulling us down internally, things that are making us judge other people. How do we work on that? So that is really what this space is going to be about. I would love for people who have questions to simply just put it in the group, put it in the comments, put it anywhere. I would love for this space to be as useful to as many of you as possible. So if you do have questions, if you have comments. So a lot of the work that I do in general is around shadow work. So it's really about understanding our own shadows and integrating them, releasing them, and understanding ourselves and other people better by doing this work internally. So another thing is that I probably will have a lot of spiritual references. Not of any particular religion. That's not what I do. But what I might be talking about could be things like feeling connected to something bigger than ourselves, feeling connected to an energy that's bigger than us, feeling connected to a sense of purpose. And it's giving a bit of a full circle moment, because when I first started coaching, I was very driven by helping people find their purpose. And I tried to set up communities around discovering our purpose. And it was a bit slow for me at first. I was very much dependent on other people's feedback and other people's presence in order for me to show up. So it really didn't take a long time for me before I shut that down, which was, I think, is a little bit unfortunate, but it's also very common. Instead of continuing and leading ourselves through the first period of time, which is just difficult, I released it and I was like, if people don't want it, then never mind. But what I want this space to be is to be as much for myself as for other people, to just really have a place to channel. And as I said, I really believe that when we have a gift, we have an obligation to share it, not from a place of wanting to force anything, but an obligation in the sense of there's a responsibility in having a gift. I really believe that. I believe that if we're really good at something, we should share it with the world. And I think that gift is very much connected to a purpose. And if you're not into purpose, if you're not into spirituality, I still think it can be a useful space for you if you're just open-minded. I don't think you have to be or do feel a particular type of way. When I first got started, when I started working with my business mentor, he bases principles on the Bible. His business principles are based on the Bible. And when I first started working with him, I'm coming out of a country that is mainly atheist. Right? We don't really do religion from a spiritual perspective. We would do religion from a cultural, traditional perspective, meaning we would go to church when someone would get married. We would celebrate Christmas and Easter, but mostly by, gifts and drinking and eating. So it really wasn't spiritually connected. So I was confused at first, I would say. Confused might be a mild word for what I was feeling. I was feeling a lot of resistance towards it, but I also wanted to be open-minded because this guy is just absolutely brilliant. And I thought, you know what? I won't let my resistance get in the way of learning from him. So I found myself in this space which was just very Jesus heavy, right? And I would be very curious about some of the things that people would say in these spaces. One of the things being a lot of people would say stuff like, "Oh, God spoke to me. God said this to me. God communicated to me in one or the other way." And I kept just thinking, like, are all of these people just hearing voices? Like not so much from a judgmental place, but from curiosity. Like, what does it feel like? Usually when you hear voices, you have to get admitted to some sort of mental institution, right? Or at least go see a psychiatrist. So I was very confused about that, but also very curious about it. And I didn't feel it super safe to be asking people, how do you know that you're not just crazy, right? Even though that was the question that came up. What does it feel like? How do you know that whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're internalizing, where you're hearing it, or you just feel a message coming through, how do you know it's from something or someone bigger than you? How do you know it's not just in your head, right? And then there was this one time I had a dream. I was standing in a pitch black room. Everything was just complete darkness, and then in the middle of everything. And this is, as I mentioned, this is a period of time where I was really doing a lot of searching around purpose and doing a lot of work around it. And in the middle of this room, there's this big, like, LED screen. It was very, very bright, as a very stark contrast to this very dark room. And then I saw handwriting starting to write across the screen, and I was like, what is going on here? And that's when I realized I am in divine presence right now. This is literally God writing my purpose to me. That's what I realized in that dream. And this handwriting came out, and it wrote down my purpose, right? And I looked at it, and I was just in awe, because at one point it was like, I'm in divine presence. Another thing was, well, of course this is my purpose. This is where I provide the absolute highest level of value. This is where I am shining uniquely in my genius. Of course this is where it is. And I was so baffled that I hadn't realized this before, because it just seemed so obvious. Once you know, and it was so obvious. And I thought, I can't believe I was ever in doubt. And it felt so uplifting, it felt so fulfilling. And there was not a doubt in my mind that I was in divine presence at that moment. But I also knew that I was dreaming. At least there's a voice at the back of my head that told me, Rebecca, you better wake up and write this down, right? You have to write your purpose out. You're going to be so unhappy if you don't have this written down somewhere. And I was just like, you know what? It's so obvious. There's just no way I'm waking up right now, because I'm having the time of my life. So I refused to wake up. I was like, I'm going to stay in this divine presence. I'm going to stay in this vibe that I'm experiencing, and I will never forget what's written on that screen. And then I went back to my full sleep. And then when I woke up the next morning, I had a vague memory of this dream. At some point, it took me a bit before I realized, oh wow, I met God in my dream. What in the world happened here? And I started recollecting, and then I started trying to remember what was written on the screen. what was it that I was told this is what my purpose is? And I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember at all, which was very disappointing. And I was beating myself up that I should have woken up and written it down, right? But there is this, I couldn't do anything about it at that point. But what I did take away was my purpose was directly connected to the quality of the service I was able to provide to other people. So where I found myself serving at the highest level, right? That was the connection that I made. It made sense for me that this was my purpose because this is where I serve at my highest level in a way that's unique to me, something that I'm excelling at naturally. And what I realized is, as long as I continue to serve at the highest level, as long as I continue to work on whatever it is, I feel like this is where I can really shine for other people. This is where I can really serve at a high level for other people. Then I will continue to get closer and closer and closer to my purpose. And I feel like something that has come to me afterwards is we constantly want to jump into just having it, right? We want to jump into being given this is what it's supposed to be. So many people they pray about, I want to, please let me know what my purpose is, and they stay at home and they pray and they don't really do anything about it. And I think what is just so important to remember in any journey that we're on towards anything is really that the journey creates us, right? The journey is, and the process is what is training us to become a match to what it is that we want to achieve. So when we have a purpose, we don't necessarily just want to be given it to us. This is in writing, handwriting, here you go, this is where your purpose is, you go tomorrow and you go do this thing. I believe that the journey is really training us towards being able to show up in our purpose with the fullest and being able to own it fully and being able to build confidence in it fully. Because I even believe that even if let's say you wake up, you have a dream, God comes and writes on your screen and says, this is your purpose, and it says electrician. I don't think necessarily someone would just wake up and be, okay, great, I'm going to go and be an electrician now. And that's going to be my full journey. And I'm just going to go out and be great at doing that. There would still be a lot of mental work that needs to be done towards really guiding us to where we want to go. And it's the same when it comes to business, right? I want to wake up tomorrow and have the most successful business in the world, but I'm not sure you would actually be able to hold everything that comes with having a successful business if you don't go through the journey of building it. It's the same with your health journey. You have to learn how to become the kind of person that wants to eat healthy, that wants to eat nourishing food, that wants to exercise, and then doing the work of becoming that. It's in the process of becoming that the real reward is. So now I'm getting a little bit off track. This is to let you know that this is the type of language that you would probably hear me speak when we're talking, because when there's something around connecting to light, there's something around connecting to whatever presence is bigger than us, there's something about connecting to a purpose or an assignment or whatever language that you want to use that lights us up. And if we're going to be casting our light onto the world, I think it's very useful to be able to connect to something that's bigger than us, because I think that's where we really source our light from. So if you're uncomfortable with this type of spiritual language, no judgment, that's totally fine. I get it. I've been there, done that. This might not be the right space for you. I would still recommend that you give it a shot. And apart from that, if you ever have questions, if there's anything that you want me to talk about in terms of shadow work or doing this dismantling of ourselves and just stepping into being more light, joyful people, I would love to hear your questions. Please, you can put them in the comments, you can put them in the group. If there's ever anything that is weighing you down, maybe, you feel free to bring it up, because I think how we process all of these things, it's really how we step into our light. Because being a person that is driven by light and joy, gratitude, and really feeling that, it's less about just not having hardships in your life, because we all have hardships, right? and more about how do we approach life with those hardships. I very often have people asking, "Oh, so how are you doing?" And my response is almost always the same. Life is beautiful in all ways, always, right? I have that one from Melanie Ann Layer. She uses it from something for in another context, but life is beautiful always and in all ways. And people are like, really? Always in all ways? And I don't mean that I never have struggle. I don't mean that I never have a sad day or a bad day. It's just that my focus is on all of the joy that I have in my life and the access to all of the joy that I have in my life. And I've trained my mind to be so observant of everything that I have that makes me happy, that even when something happens that weighs me down, that pulls me down, it doesn't get to pull me down fully. It gets to be an experience that I work with and that I understand how to work with in a way that it doesn't pull down my energy in that sense. And also just, when you're having a bad day, allow yourself to have a bad day. And guess what? When you're not putting so much resistance or attention or focus on the fact that it's bad, usually the next day is beautiful in all ways. So yeah, this is kind of what I will be talking about in this space, in this group. I hope you find it useful. I hope you find it impactful. Would love to hear what are some of the topics that you would like for me to bring up in the future. If not, I guess the next one will probably be around shadow work, since I've mentioned it several times. And yeah, that will pretty much be it. But I look forward to sharing this space with you. Thank you so much for being here, and have a beautiful day. Bye. Oh.